Hey, welcome. My name is Adam, and in this video, I am going to be showing you how to simplify your busy life. This video is perfect for you if you're someone who feels like you have too many obligations, too much stuff on your plate, and you feel like you don't have enough free time to really just relax and to do what's most important to you in your life. You feel like you're always in a rush to do the next thing. Your schedule is way too packed, and you don't have enough time to just chill out, spend a few hours reading a book, or meditating, or just going for a leisurely walk outside, enjoying the weather, smelling the flowers. You feel like your schedule's too packed, and this is a massive problem. See, when I was like 16 years old, my schedule was totally packed. I was in high school and I was just really interested in trying all the different extracurricular activities. So I was on the swim team, I was on the rugby team, I was on the wrestling team, I was even in the band. I had all the AP classes with lots of homework. And then on the side, I was also in the Army Cadets and I had all kinds of obligations there. So my schedule was so packed and I was just always busy. I didn't have enough time to just self-reflect and to really spend time with myself. And when I realized that this was such a massive problem that was actually inhibiting my personal growth was when I started getting into self-actualization and I started learning about the principles for how to become the best version of yourself, how to self-actualize and realize your full potential as a human being. I started learning about this just because it fascinated me, and I stumbled upon a video by one of my mentors, Leo Gura. He has a video on his YouTube channel called Lifestyle Minimalism. And in that video, he was basically explaining that if your schedule is too crammed with all kinds of extracurricular activities, many of which you really don't need. Many of them aren't even contributing to your happiness and to your self-actualization. If your schedule's too packed, you don't have enough time, you're really going to be wasting your most valuable asset, which is your time. You're going to be wasting that, just kind of pissing it away, and you're not going to be investing it in a smart way that will pay you dividends long term. See, one of the keys with self-actualization is that when we're trying to grow ourselves and do personal development to really get the most out of our life, the most fulfillment, to make a big impact in the world, to really do what we're passionate about, and to specifically choose those activities that light us up and make us the most happy, and to systematically engineer our lives to maximize the amount of time that we're spending to do the activities that bring us genuine fulfillment and happiness, and then to trim away the fat, to trim away all of those activities that are just distracting us, that are just sucking our time and just keeping us busy and frantic constantly. When I first watched this video, he explained a lot of the things I'm going to be explaining to you today, and it really changed my perspective on life. The main insight I want you to take away from this video today is that normally we think that the default state of our lives is to have nothing to do. Normally we think that the default state, if we don't consciously make any effort at all, by default we'll just have nothing to do. We'll have an empty schedule with all the free time in the world. But what I learned, which really changed my life and completely shifted my perspective, was that the default state isn't to have a free schedule, but the default state is actually to have a packed schedule. when you're unconscious and you're not really crafting your life consciously, you're just kind of going with the flow of life, getting swept up in whatever culture is telling you to do. You're not really strategizing for creating the best possible life for yourself. You're just kind of going with the flow. This is where most of us begin our journey, just unconsciously living our life. The default state in that unconscious state is to have a crammed, packed schedule. I remember after I got into personal development when I was like 17 years old, I was still on the rugby team, and I went on a trip where we took a bus all the way to Philadelphia. I'm from Toronto, and I got to stay in the home of just an average American family, and I was staying in their home, and it was like part of the rugby trip. Basically, they were like hosting me. So I was living with this family, and they had a boy that was my age, and I remember just how packed this poor kid's schedule was. He would wake up at 6 a.m. We would have to take a train all the way to this Ivy League school in Philadelphia. It would take an hour to get there. He would be at school from 8 to 5, so full of classes all day. By the end of the day, he was exhausted. Then he would have to take an hour train to get home. So he'd be home at 6, and then when I'd finally get home with this guy, I remember he'd have like 4 hours of homework. So he'd be like, sorry, man, I can't chill with you, even though, I'm hosting you, right? So sorry, I can't hang out with you. I have 4 hours of homework to do. I have Latin homework, history homework, math homework, all this homework. And this poor kid would do homework until like 10 or 11 at night, go to bed, and then just do the same thing the next day. And I share that story with you because that's like the average life. This was just like an average family. And that was how busy this poor 16-year-old boy was when... Yeah, so the big problem here is that our society is naturally, by default, extremely busy. If you don't proactively try to actually trim the fat out of your schedule, you need to realize you need to actually proactively carve space out into your schedule, which is what I'm going to show you how to do in this video. Because if you're not consciously carving space in your schedule, what's going to happen is that space is going to be filled for you by something is going to come up. Your school's going to give you more homework. Your brother or sister is going to ask you to do them a favor. Your parents are going to enroll you in something, or just your wife is going to be asking you to do stuff. So unless you take free time on purpose, it's going to be filled with frivolous nonsense. And that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching you how to do in this video. So before we get into, I have 4 steps that are going to show you how to simplify your life. Before we get into this, I just wanted to point out how there is this fear of having free time. I remember when I was a kid, my parents put me into a lot of extracurriculars, which I'm actually very thankful for, because I learned how to swim, I learned how to play the guitar, I was in the Army Cadets, I even played soccer. So my parents were very good in that way, where they always wanted me to be doing something. They wanted my schedule to have stuff to do. So they enrolled me in soccer, and I remember always being busy. There was always something on my schedule. And I think that's good when you're a kid and you're not really consciously like trying to self-actualize. You're not trying to strategize and craft your life for yourself. Because my dad's philosophy was that it's good to keep busy, because if you're not busy, then you're just going to be like playing video games and eating ice cream the whole day. And yeah, when you're a 10-year-old kid, that is true. When I wasn't busy, I would be bored and I would get into trouble. I would play video games the whole time. So, yeah, my dad's philosophy was that it's good to keep busy. And I remember when I was a kid, I would get sick of playing soccer because I was on the rep soccer team and I would have to go like 5 days a week, games and practices. I'd get exhausted. It was like a full-time job for me. I remember telling my parents, like, guys, I don't even like soccer anymore. They take it way too seriously. I'm always worried about like being cut from the team. It turned into a full-time job. It's not fun anymore. I want to quit, right? And I remember my parents would always tell me, okay, you can quit, but what are you going to replace it with? Because you can't be doing nothing. That's the worst, right? So for my parents, doing nothing would be like the absolute, I will not have my kids doing nothing idly. They need to be doing something. And again, that's completely okay. I think that's actually very good if you're a young kid. I learned so many life skills in my extracurriculars, but as I got older, I kind of kept that mindset with me, where I always have to be doing something. I can't just be doing nothing. My schedule needs to be packed with something. And then when I started doing more self-reflection, I realized, wow, there's like an actual fear in me of just having free time. You ever notice that when you have a free day just to do nothing, the first thing you do is you want to fill that day with some kind of activity. Oh, I'm going to go to the beach with my friends. Oh, I'm going to go to the mall. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When you have a free schedule, it's like your mind naturally wants to fill that void with something. But what I realized is that if you really want to self-actualize, you want to become the best version of yourself, you need to actually get comfortable with just having nothing to do. You need to proactively start to say no to things, which is one of the points. And when you say no to things, just allow that space to be there. And don't cave into the fear of doing nothing, the fear of, oh, if I do nothing, then I'm somehow wasting my life. I'm wasting my time. If I have nothing to do today, it's like a wasted day. But when I watched Leo's video, that shifted my perspective to realize, oh, when it's okay to do nothing. That's perfect space for me to self-reflect, to read a book, to do some meditation, just to go for a walk, listen to an audiobook, just to take time for myself. That's actually very healthy. You see, one way that we stay unconscious for our entire lives, and many people say when they get to the point where they're 50 years old, 60 years old, they always tell me, Adam, it's like my life just flashed before my eyes. I don't know where all the time went. Yeah, because you're so damn busy all the time. You didn't give yourself any free time at all just to do nothing. You're just constantly in work mode. Like an ant, just like working constantly. So how do we actually simplify our life so that we can create space for self-reflection and for self-actualization work, which is the most important thing to be doing in your life? You see, when I talk about clearing out your schedule, carving space in your schedule, just notice if you feel any resistance when I say that. Are you afraid? It's like, oh, Adam, but if I quit my sports team, then that's something bad's gonna happen. Or if I take on less classes at school, then something's bad's gonna happen. Or if I stop being so involved in my work, then something bad's gonna happen. So you really think that you need a lot of these extracurriculars in order to be happy. But what I'm telling you is that a good 50% of what you do, you'd actually be a lot better off just completely getting it off of your plate, just not doing it at all. You'd actually be a lot happier if 50% of what you did was just removed from your life and replaced with just pure free time. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in 1 second. But let's get into how to actually simplify your life. First of all, start valuing your free time. You need to actually value free time on purpose. And I remember when I was 18 years old, this is when I was getting more into self-actualization. I was meditating every single day, reading books, was listening to podcasts and lectures from psychologists and scientists, and just trying to learn about how life works. I remember this was when I was starting to graduate high school, and my parents were kind of on my ass. They're saying, okay, so what are you going to do after high school? And I told them, I said, you know what? I'm actually just going to take a gap year. I'm just going to do nothing for a year. And that's like the worst thing ever. Many parents, if their kid tells them they're going to take a gap year just to do nothing, they're going to be like, what? No, that's not allowed. You have to go to university, or you have to go to at least go get a job. You can't do nothing. But I wasn't interested in doing nothing in the unconscious way, where I was just playing video games and watching porn, even though I did plenty of that. I was more interested in doing nothing consciously and actually supplementing my free time with healthy activities like exercising, reading, meditating, that kind of stuff. So start valuing free time and realize that your free time is a perfect time for you to just unwind, unpack, and you can supplement that time with healthy activities. Also, you're going to need to start to say no to things. You got to get really comfortable just saying no. If you have some kind of obligation that comes up, maybe you have to go to a wedding, or you have to go, you have extracurriculars that are, you have all kinds of obligations basically. You just need to just start saying no. You need to take your power back and realize that your free time is your most important asset. Many millionaires and billionaires say that once you get to a certain amount of money in your life, then the most valuable asset you have is your time. And you really want to start buying back your time so that you have as much free time as possible. Because time is the only resource you can't get more of. You have a limited amount of time in your life. Eventually your life is going to end. And the best way to get more your time back is to just say no to stuff. When your friends are asking you to hang out, when your parents are asking you to do stuff for them, you could just say no. No, I'm busy right now. Sorry, I can't do that. What are you busy doing? You're doing nothing. So yeah, I'm busy doing nothing right now. I had to consciously carve out this time in my schedule to do nothing, so my schedule's packed right now with nothing. And it's going to stay that way. Now, guys, I am not saying that you can never hang out with your friends, and I'm not saying that you can't have extracurricular activities, and I'm also not saying that if your parents ask you to do them a favor, that you don't do them a favor. I am saying just be a little bit more conscious when you are saying yes to things. Be conscious. Don't just say yes because you feel like you have to, like you're obligated to. You could say no. Just say, oh, I'm doing nothing right now. I'm really busy with nothing on my schedule right now. So all I'm saying is just be more conscious about when you are saying yes to things, because that's valuable time. That could be used to just like enjoy the present moment, which is where life is actually happening. Okay? So number 3 is slow down. See, in my life personally, I live a very slow life with not much on my schedule. I've been able to simplify my life as a long-term goal of mine. So you may not be able to implement all of these steps by tomorrow. You can't cut out 50% of all of your activities by tomorrow. But what I am saying is over the next few years, gradually letting go of a lot of the clutter in your schedule. This is a gradual process. You don't have to drop everything tomorrow. That wouldn't work. It would be too abrupt. But have the general goal of, over the next 5 years, slowing your life down, emptying out your schedule until eventually you're like me, where my schedule has only the essentials in it. My entire life, I've specifically designed and engineered to be 90% free time. In fact, I'd say 100% of my life right now is free time, save for sometimes I have birthdays, sometimes I have weddings to go to for family reasons. But besides that, everything I do is on my own schedule. And I've been able to do that because over the last few years, I've worked on building a coaching business for myself. And right now technically I'm working, but I'm making a video. And this is what I like doing anyway. So this is my passion. I would have been making videos on my free time, even if it wasn't my full-time job. So the way I've been able to get to this place in my life where literally I wake up in the morning and I make my own schedule. I decide what I want to do that day. Today my schedule is to make a video, meditate, exercise. I got to do some grocery shopping later. I need to do a couple things on my computer for my clients and for my coach. And that's it. And then the rest of the day, after I'm done work, I'm probably just going to go walk around outside. It's spring weather right now. So I'm just going to go look at the trees and the little ponds that are in my area. So my life is it's like I'm on vacation 24/7. In many cases, if I wasn't working with clients, I would just forget what day it is. If I have no clients, there's no reason for me to know whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, because that's how much I've cleaned up my schedule to where I have basically zero obligations. And this is something that I've done consciously for myself because I value my free time so much, because I feel like when I have nothing to do, that's when I'm the most productive. That's when I have the most space to think, to reflect, to plan my life. You see, when you're busy 24 hours a day, like that one kid from Philadelphia, poor guy, how is he even going to decide where he's going to go for university? Because in high school, he's been working from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. He has no time to even reflect. What is he passionate about? What are his strengths? What does he want to do for the rest of his life? What's his game plan? So when you don't give yourself space to actually strategize and plan your life, you're just kind of sucked into the flow of life. This is called Maya in Buddhism. This is like the unconscious dream of life. Maya is known to be very busy. There's a lot of stuff going on in the unconscious dream. The most conscious people are, you could imagine like a Zen master, or a Zen monk who just sits in the monastery. If you look at his schedule, he probably wakes up around 4 in the morning, meditates, eats breakfast, does some prayers, eats lunch, meditates again, walks around, tends to the garden, talks to the other monks, and then goes to sleep. Some of the most conscious people, their life is not busy. It's the opposite. It's actually very peaceful. It's very simple. And the stuff that you do have to do, because I'm not saying to do nothing forever, you still need to do stuff, right? I still work. But when I do work, the actions that I'm taking are deliberate. And that makes them very effective. So the stuff that I do, that is like the most important stuff. It's like the 80-20 rule. I focus all of my energy on the 20% of things that get me 80% of my results. So for example, meditation, I that's something I do during the day. But I focus on that because that's like so important for me. Same with exercise, same with making videos and planning content and coaching clients. So slowing your life down is a very conscious thing to do. The most conscious people lead very simple lives. And if your life is jam-packed, is busy, this is another flaw with hustle culture as well. We think that the more shit we can cram into our schedule, the more productive we are. But counterintuitively, I've realized that I'm actually the most productive when I have the least to do. When my schedule only has 1 or 2 things on my schedule, that's when I'm the most productive, because in that case, I'm balancing work and rest. And in my rest period, that gives me time to just unpack and to reflect and to strategize and plan. See, there is this one quote, I forgot the actual quote or who it was by, but it was like, if you gave me a task to do and you gave me 2 hours to do it, I would spend the first hour planning out how I'm going to do it. Or it was like, if you gave me an axe and a saw, if you gave me an axe and a tree to chop down and you gave me 2 hours to do it, I would spend the first hour and a half sharpening the axe. That was the quote. I forgot who it was by. But what I'm trying to say is, I spend a lot of my time just planning and organizing my mind and my life and being strategic, being proactive with planning, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? And you can only plan if you have free time to plan in. All right? So the last step for simplifying your life is to contemplate your death. Contemplate death. Just remember that you can't really afford to have your schedule filled up with nonsense, because by the time you're on your deathbed, or by the time you're 60 or 70 years old, you're going to say to yourself, wow, that went by really quickly. Where the hell did all my time go? I can't get any of it back. I wish I spent more time just smelling the roses, just going for walks, meditating, hanging out with my loved ones. I wish I had more free time. I wish my schedule wasn't jam-packed. Not to mention, when we do self-actualization work, like meditation, reading, I've said that a million times in this video, exercise, self-reflecting, being creative, discovering your life purpose, doing what you're passionate about. When we're trying to do that kind of work, there's this compounding effect where in the first few years when you're doing meditation, for example, it feels like it's not even working. It feels like a waste of your time. But after 5 or 10 years, the results start to compound. And after 10 years of doing meditation, I'm like on year 6 right now, it starts to get really effective. And you're like, holy shit, I could just sit down for 20 minutes and actually connect my soul to the source of the universe and just completely just rest in bliss. And the only way I was able to get there was by, for 6 years, carving out free time into my schedule to actually do meditation. Many people say, oh, Adam, I don't have enough time to meditate or to work out or to read a book. Okay, I understand. Life can get very busy sometimes. That's why, as a long-term goal, work on systematically trimming the fat and cutting out the unnecessary activities so that you can start to reap the rewards of that as compound interest. 10 years from now, you can have a completely empty schedule like me because I've invested a lot of my time learning how to do business, learning how to just meditate. Because if I don't meditate, I unconsciously fill my schedule with bullshit. I've noticed this actually. If I don't meditate, I unconsciously just start planning stuff. Like with my friends, I start just like playing video games, like wasting time, like doing things. But none of these things that I do ever bring me lasting happiness. What brings me the most happiness is just having nothing to do and doing my work, doing what I'm passionate about, and helping people with that. So the last way to simplify your life, the bonus tip, is to have a vision for yourself, to really look 10 years in advance and think to yourself, how do I want to impact the world? How do I want my life to look 10 years from now? What kind of gifts of mine do I want to cultivate and do I want to share with people? How do I want to change society? How do I want to change another person's life? How do I want to change maybe a certain field? If you're interested in science, how do I want to have an impact on science? Or how do I want to have an impact on politics or on the education system? Or whatever you're passionate about, have an actual vision for your life, because this lofty vision, that is going to help you realize what is the most important. And then you can basically say to yourself, okay, so this is my life purpose. This is what's the most important to me. Now, everything else that's not serving my life purpose, that's not serving my vision, that's gotta go. That's just fat. That's not actually contributing to my happiness. So it's important to just understand which actions bring you the most fulfillment based on your personality type, based on your strengths, based on your passions, your values. I help you to discover that for yourself in my Crystal Clear Purpose program. So you can check that out if you're interested. But once you discover your strengths, your values, your personality type, and you create a vision for yourself and a tangible action plan for how to get there, once you have that, everything else that's not that is by definition a waste of time. Because we've already identified what are those activities that bring your soul the most happiness. Once we identify that, it's very easy to just trim the fat. Now, guys, I'm not saying you have to be puritanical about this. You don't have to be overly strict with yourself. You could still give yourself time to hang out with your friends and just, waste some time here and there. That's all right. It's balance. But the attitude of what I'm saying is focus on your vision, focus on what's most important to you, realize you're going to die, slow down, say no to the things that are wasting your time, and start actually valuing your free time. All right, guys, so this was how to simplify your busy life, even if you have many obligations. I hope you enjoyed this video. On this channel here, I make videos about self-actualization. I am interested in helping you to become the best version of yourself. And what does that actually mean? I want to help you to become the version of yourself that's actually aware of what are your natural gifts and strengths and talents. And I want to help you to make a plan to actualize those so that you can do what you love for a living full time. I give lots of career advice here on this channel. I also have coaching programs that are in the works that are going to help you with that. Also, I want you to become a conscious individual where you actually start to understand what is reality and where did it come from and how does it work? What are the principles of reality? What is existence? And also, what am I? That's something many of us take for granted. Who am I? What does it mean to exist? So these kinds of grand existential questions, I'm really on this channel helping you to raise your consciousness and to become a shining example of a highly developed human being. And I think that is well, not that I think, but this is really the only way to gain fulfillment in your life. And by the time you're dead, when you're on your deathbed, I want you to feel like you actually got the most juice out of your life. You gave it your all. You gave your life as much as you possibly could, and you gave to others, and you gave to the world as much as you possibly could have, so that you can finally die happy. You can die not feeling like you spent your whole life wasting it with frivolous activities, but you actually had the courage to do what was important to you and to give your gift and your love to the world and to also just enjoy your life fully. And that's what I'm interested in helping you do on this channel. So stay tuned. I make weekly videos. If you're interested in raising your consciousness, you can click the first link in the description where I have a free meditation guide that shows you the most powerful meditation practice that I've been using for 6 years. It's great for building your mindfulness and your awareness of the present moment, which is super important. And besides that, I'll see you in the next video.